Hello, fifth graders. Today we're going to go over proportions, expanded form, order of operations, and how to convert measurements. So for the first section, proportions, we're going to go over number 1 together. So it says 1 over x equals 6 over 60. You should write it in this format because it'll be much easier to do cross multiplication, which I'm going to show you now. So cross multiplication is a method that you use to solve proportions. So the way you do this is multiply cross. So you're multiplying numbers that are across each other, like this. It creates a sort of a cross, if you notice. Let me just color code this so it's much easier. It should create this kind of cross. So now you're going to multiply these cross like this. So I'm going to do the red first. So you get 6 times x, which we know that as 6x. And then you're going to do 60 times 1, which you know as 60. Now, you're wondering, is this all? No, it's not all. So if you notice, there's an equal sign over here, which you're going to bring down between these two numbers that you just multiplied together. So now from this, you're just going to solve for x by isolating it. And in order to isolate it, you're going to divide 6 to both sides. You'll end up with x on the left side and 10 on the right side. And that's how you find the x value. So x equals 10. So in these problems that you have over here, you're going to be solving for x through proportions. And we solve proportions through cross multiplication, as I've shown over here. Now the second section we're going to go over is expanded form. And we're going to write an expanded form for number 1 and number 2. So I'm going to show you how an expanded form looks like with number 1. So you have 899 over here. So if you know your place values, this will be much easier for you. So we know that 9 is in the ones place, so I'm just going to write 9 over here. And we know that 9 is in the tens place, so I'm going to write 90 over here. And we know that 8 is in your hundreds place, so you can write 800. Now from here, I'm going to separate this into writing 9 and 1 because it's in the ones place. And you're going to be writing 9 and 10. And you're going to be writing 8 and 100. And you're just going to be multiplying these together. So this is how it should look like. 8 times 100. Oops, let me rewrite it over here. So you should get 8 times 100 plus 9 times 10 plus 9 times 1. So this is your expanded form for 899. So if you know your place value, you should know how I got all of these numbers. It should be fairly easy. 8 is in your hundreds place, so I did this. 9 is in your tens place. 9 is in your ones place, so it goes like that. Now these numbers that I placed over here is just a pre-step that I took to getting the final answer. You don't have to do this. You can automatically go into your final form, which I will show you in number 2. So you have 3 in your ones place. Oops, let me actually start from the left. So 3 is in your thousands place, so you're going to do 3 times 1,000. And then 8 is in your hundreds place, so you're going to do 8 times 100. 2 is in your tens place, so you're going to do 2 times 10. 3 is in your ones place, so I'm going to do 3 times 1. And this is your expanded form number 2, and this is your expanded form number 1. And that's it for this expanded form. Now the third section we're going to go over is order of operations. So I know we went over order of operations a lot, so I'm just going to go over one problem with you guys. And on the right side over here, of course, I have the PEMDAS, the acronym that is used to determine the order of operations, and obviously we're going to go from up to down. So the first thing that I like to do is circle all the operations, which is shown with times, plus, parentheses, plus, and times. So now I'm going to circle these on the right side over here. So we have a parentheses, we have a multiplication, we have an addition, and these are it. So now we're going from up to down, so obviously parentheses is first. So let me just erase this because it's going to get in the way. So I'm going to do the operation inside the parentheses first. So we have over here 8 plus 29 first, and if you did your math correctly, you should end up with 37 as your sum for here. 8 plus 29 is 37, and I'm just going to rewrite this without the parentheses, plus 35 times 10. Now the next on the list is multiplications, and we're going to do multiplications first. So we have two sets of multiplication, 4 times 37 and 35 times 10. So I'm going to do 37 times 4 first. 7 times 4 is 28. 4 times 3 is 12, 14. So you should end up with 148 plus and 350 because 35 times 10 is 350. And then you're just going to add these, which is your last step. So if you do your addition correctly, 148 plus 350, you should end up with 98 as your final answer. Now, of course, as I've already said, if you mess up these orders even one bit, if you did the addition first, or if you did the parentheses last, you will end up with a completely different answer, which is incorrect. This is your correct and final answer. Now, the last section we're going to go over is measurement, and we're going to be converting between measurements. So for number 1, we're converting between feet to miles. For number 2, we're converting miles to yards. So now the way I convert measurements is through proportions, which we learned in the first section. So it's just going to be kind of a recap of the first section. So if you understand proportions completely, this section should be fairly easy. So now number 1 over here, we have 5,280 feet. And then I like to use x for my unknown value. So x miles. So now we're converting from feet to miles. So over here we have the feet, we have the miles. Now underneath miles, I'm going to write 1 mile to represent conversion. And under feet, I'm going to write 5,280 feet to represent the feet. So make sure your feet and feet is aligned and miles is aligned. Now from here, it's just proportions. You're going to do cross multiplication. So you're going to do this first, multiply these together, which you should end up with 5,280x. And then you're going to do this next, and which you'll know will be 5,280. And then you're just going to bring down the equal sign to here, and then you're just going to isolate the x, which you do so by dividing by 5,280 to both sides. Then the x equals 1. So 5,280 feet equals 1 mile. So this is pretty obvious. You really didn't have to go through these proportions. You already know that 1 mile equals 5,280 feet. I just wanted to show you how this whole process worked with the proportions. And number 2 is where I'm going to really show you how it actually works, because number 1 you could have really done it without it. So number 2 we have over here 92 miles equals, and of course I like to use a variable, x yard. Now underneath the 92 miles, I'm going to place the 1 mile because of this. And then for the yards, I'm going to bring down the 1,760 yards below this. 1,760 yards. Now from here, of course, I'm going to do proportions. So I'm going to do these two in blue. So 1,760, if you multiply these correctly, you should end up with, this might be a big number, 161,920. And then you're going to multiply these together, and you'll end up with just x. And then, of course, you're going to bring down the x equal sign. And then from here, your answers are already out here. X equals 161,920. And this is your final answer, and that's it for today.